The morning was quiet on the orbital station called Eternal Vigil. Admiral sat in her chair, drinking tea and watching Earth spin slowly below. The blue and green planet looked peaceful from up here. She had spent 40 years in the military, and she had learned to enjoy these quiet moments. Her aide lieutenant stood near the door. He was young, only 28 years old and still nervous around his famous commander. Liked him. He reminded her of herself when she was young and eager to prove herself. The communication screen on the wall suddenly turned on by itself. This was strange. No one could access their private channel without permission, reached for his weapon but raised her hand to stop him. A face appeared on the screen. It was not human. The creature had gray skin that looked like wet stone. 4 eyes sat on its face in a diamond shape, 2 above and 2 below. Its mouth had no lips, only sharp mandibles that clicked together when it spoke. Recognized this species immediately. Every human child learned about them in school. 3,000 years ago, these aliens had come to Earth with a fleet of warships so large that they blocked out the sun. Humanity was young then. They had only just learned to travel between planets. They had no weapons that could fight such an enemy. So humanity surrendered. They gave them a choice: accept a truce and live as prisoners in their own solar system or die. Humans chose to live. The truce said that humanity could never leave their solar system. They could never build warships. They could never expand. In exchange, they would not destroy them. For 3,000 years, humanity obeyed. Now, the alien on the screen spoke with a voice like grinding rocks. I am High Commander of the Dominion. I speak to the leaders of the human species. Set down her teacup. I am Admiral of Earth Defense. I am listening. 4 eyes blinked one at a time, starting from the top. The truce signed by your ancestors expires at the turn of your calendar, 30 of your days from now. The Dominion hereby declares its intention to resume hostilities. Made a small sound of fear, did not react. You have 30 days to surrender completely, continued. His mandibles clicked with what guessed was pleasure. Give us control of your planet, your people, and your resources. If you refuse, we will destroy everything. Every city, every station, every human. You will become dust and memory. The alien leaned closer to the screen. We have waited 3,000 years for this moment. Your species has been living on borrowed time. That time is now over. Was quiet for a long moment, looked at her with wide eyes. His face was pale with fear. The young man was probably thinking about his family on Earth, his mother, his sister, his friends. All of them would die if they attacked. Then did something unexpected. She laughed. It was not a nervous laugh. It was not the laugh of someone who had lost their mind from fear. It was a real laugh, warm and genuine, like she had just heard a very funny joke. His mandibles stopped clicking. His 4 eyes narrowed with confusion. You dare to laugh at the Dominion? I apologize, said, but she was still smiling. It has been a long morning and I needed that. You needed what? A good laugh. Picked up her teacup again and took a slow drink. High Commander, I want to thank you for this message. I will share it with the United Earth Council immediately. You should be begging for mercy, said. His voice was rising with anger. You should be crying and pleading for your lives. Why are you laughing? Looked at him with calm eyes. Because, High Commander, you have no idea what you are walking into. None at all. We have 300 warships ready to enter your system. Each one is capable of destroying a planet. What do you have? A few defense stations, some old patrol ships. You are nothing. If you say so, replied. She was still smiling. I look forward to meeting you in person. I think you will find the experience educational. Before could respond, pressed a button and ended the call. The screen went dark. Stared at her, his mouth was open with shock. Admiral, what just happened? Did you just mock him? I did. But they are going to invade. They are going to kill everyone. stood up from her chair. She walked to the window and looked down at Earth. Billions of people lived on that planet. They went to work, raised their children, fell in love, grew old. They trusted their leaders to protect them. She said without turning around, "How old are you?" 28, Admiral. So young, you were born into peace. You have never known war. You have never known fear of the sky. She turned to face him. Do you know why humans accepted that truce 3,000 years ago? Because we had no choice. We were weak. Smiled again, but this time it was a different kind of smile. It was the smile of someone who knew a secret. We were weak then, she said, but 3,000 years is a very long time to prepare, a very long time to grow, a very long time to become something new. She walked toward the door. Contact the council, tell them they have declared war, and tell them to prepare the welcome committee. The welcome committee stopped at the door and looked back at him. Oh, and make sure someone records the faces of when they arrive. I want to remember their expressions forever. She left the room, leaving alone with his confusion and his fear. But somewhere deep inside him, a small spark of hope began to grow. The Admiral knew something important, something that made her laugh at an enemy who had terrified humanity for 3,000 years. For the first time since the message arrived, wondered if maybe, just maybe, there was more to this story than he understood. The United Earth Council met in a room deep underground. The room had no windows. Its walls were made of metal so thick that no signal could enter or leave without permission. This was the most secret place on Earth, and only 12 people knew it existed. Defense Minister stood at the center of the room. He was a tall man with gray hair and sharp eyes. He had served in the military for 60 years before becoming a politician. Now, at the age of 92, he looked like a man in his 40s. Modern medicine had made aging a choice, not a requirement. Around him sat the 12 members of the council. They represented every region of Earth. Some were old, some were young. Some looked worried, some looked excited. But all of them were silent, waiting for to speak. 3 hours ago, the Dominion declared war on humanity, began. His voice was calm and steady. They have given us 30 days to surrender. If we refuse, they will send a fleet of 300 warships to destroy us. One of the council members, a woman named, leaned forward. What is our response? Smiled. It was the same kind of smile that Admiral had shown earlier. Our response is to do nothing. Nothing? Another council member, an older man named, looked confused. They are coming to kill us and we do nothing. We do nothing because we do not need to do anything. Raised his hand, and the lights in the room dimmed. Holographic images appeared in the air around him, floating like ghosts made of light. Let me show you what 3,000 years of patience has created. The first image was a map, but it was not a map of Earth or even the solar system. It was a map of the galaxy, showing hundreds of glowing dots spread across the stars. They believe we have obeyed the truce, explained. They believe we have stayed in our solar system like good little prisoners. They have watched us with their sensors and spies for 3,000 years, and we have shown them exactly what they expected to see. He gestured, and the map zoomed in on one of the glowing dots. A planet appeared, covered with cities and green forests. This is New Sol. It is located 400 light-years from Earth. Population, 8 billion humans. It has been a colony for 2,000 years. The council members stared at the image. Some of them knew about this, but seeing it displayed so openly still took their breath away. They cannot detect our fold space corridors, continued. We discovered this technology 1,800 years ago. It allows us to travel between stars instantly without leaving any trace. We built our empire in secret, right under their noses. He waved his hand again and more planets appeared, dozens of them, then hundreds. 217 colony worlds. 900 billion humans spread across the galaxy. Farms, factories, universities, hospitals, everything a civilization needs to thrive. Was shaking her head with wonder, and the know nothing about this. Nothing. We have been very careful. Every ship that leaves the solar system does so through hidden corridors. Every colony is shielded from sensors. We have spent 3,000 years building a civilization in the shadows. Raised his hand. What about our military? Do we have ships that can fight them? Smile grew wider. I am glad you asked. The holographic display changed again. Now it showed a ship, but calling it a ship was like calling a mountain a rock. It was enormous, larger than anything the council members had ever imagined. Its hull was black and smooth, covered with weapons that glowed with blue light. This is the class Dreadnought said, named after the mythical beast that protected ancient Korea from fire and disaster. It is 12 kilometers long. Its main cannon can destroy a moon with a single shot. Its shields can withstand the combined firepower of the entire fleet. He paused to let this information sink in. We have 900 of them. The room was completely silent. Even the council members who had known about humanity's secret expansion had not known the full extent of their military power. They have 300 warships, continued. They think this is an overwhelming force. They think we have nothing but old patrol boats and defense stations. They are about to learn how wrong they are. An elderly woman at the end of the table spoke up. Her name was, and she was the oldest human alive. She was 847 years old, kept alive by technology that the believed was impossible. Her eyes were sharp, and her voice was strong. I was born 100 years after the truce was signed, she said. I remember when humanity was afraid, when we looked at the sky with terror, knowing that death could come at any moment. I watched generation after generation live and die under that fear. She stood up slowly, her ancient body still holding power and dignity. But I also watched humanity refuse to give up. I watched us build and plan and grow in secret. I watched us become something they could never imagine. And now, after 8 centuries of waiting, I will finally see the day when we show them who we truly are. Nodded at her with respect. They made one mistake 3,000 years ago. They thought that trapping a species would kill its spirit. They thought we would become weak and afraid, waiting for death. He looked around the room at each council member. They did not understand humans. When you trap us, we do not die. We adapt. We plan. We grow stronger. And when the trap finally opens, we do not run away. He closed his fist, and all the holographic images disappeared. We show our enemies exactly what they created. The council voted unanimously to reject the surrender demand. The message was sent within the hour. It was short and simple. Humanity declines your generous offer. Please proceed with your invasion at your earliest convenience. We look forward to welcoming you. Somewhere in space, High Commander read this message and felt something he had never felt before. He did not know what this feeling was, because did not have a word for it. Humans called it doubt. The invasion fleet was a beautiful and terrifying sight. 300 warships moved through space in perfect formation, their dark hulls reflecting the light of distant stars. Each ship was armed with weapons that could burn cities to ash in seconds. Each ship carried thousands of soldiers ready to conquer and destroy. High Commander stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Conquest. He watched the distant dot of Earth's sun grow brighter as they approached. His 4 eyes were focused and cold. His mandibles clicked with anticipation. How long until we reach the human system? He asked. His tactical officer, a younger named, checked the displays in front of him. 6 hours, High Commander. We will arrive at the outer boundary of their system by evening their time. Good, clasped his hands behind his back. Send a message ahead. Tell them their time has run out. Tell them to prepare for death. The message was sent. But the response that came back was not what expected. "High Commander," said, his voice confused. "We are receiving a communication from the humans. It is strange." "Show me." The main screen flickered, and a young human woman appeared. She had black hair cut short and dark eyes that sparkled with amusement. She was wearing a military uniform with many medals on her chest. Behind her could see what looked like the bridge of a ship, but it was larger and more advanced than anything in the fleet. "Hello there," the woman said cheerfully. "My name is Captain, and I am calling from the Federation starship Sunrise. I will be your escort for today's invasion attempt." His mandibles stopped clicking. "Escort? What nonsense is this?" "Oh, it is not nonsense at all," smiled brightly. "You see, we have been watching your fleet approach for the last 3 days. Very impressive ships, by the way. They look exactly like the ships your ancestors used 3,000 years ago. Very traditional, I respect that." "You mock us," growled. "You will regret these words when we burn your planet." "Maybe," agreed. "But before you do that, I thought you might want to look at your sensor readings. Just a suggestion." Turn 2. What is she talking about? His face had gone pale gray, which was the equivalent of turning white with fear. His 4 eyes were fixed on his display screens. His hands were shaking. "High Commander," he whispered, "the sensors are detecting. I do not understand. This is not possible." "What is not possible? Speak clearly." "Ships, High Commander. Thousands of ships. They are surrounding us on all sides." Strode to the sensor station and looked at the screens himself. What he saw made his heart stop beating for a moment. The space around his fleet was filled with vessels. They were everywhere, appearing from nowhere, as if they had simply materialized out of empty darkness. Many of them were human ships, but not like any human ships he had ever seen. They were massive, bristling with weapons, glowing with energy shields that looked impenetrable. But other ships were not human at all. Recognized some of them. There were cruisers, long and elegant like silver fish. There were warships, covered with spikes and armor. There were carriers, each one capable of launching 1,000 fighters. There were ships from dozens of species, all of them flying together in perfect coordination. All of them were species that the Dominion had conquered over the centuries. "This is impossible," breathed. "These species are our slaves, they serve us." On the screen, Captain tilted her head. "Do they? Are you sure about that? When was the last time you actually checked?" Did not answer. He could not answer. His mind was trying to understand what was happening, but nothing made sense. "Let me explain," continued, her voice becoming more serious. "About 800 years ago, humanity began making contact with the species you had conquered. We did it quietly, secretly, using technology you could not detect. We offered them something you never did: friendship, partnership, freedom." She leaned closer to the screen. "One by one, they joined us. We helped them build new fleets, new weapons, new hope. We created a federation of free peoples, united against tyranny. And the whole time, we let you believe you were still in control. We let you think your empire was strong." Found his voice. "This is a trick, an illusion." "Is it?" Gestured at something off screen. "Was that his name? Ask him to count the ships surrounding you. Go ahead, take your time." Turned to his tactical officer. Hands were still shaking as he worked the controls. 12,416 vessels, reported. His voice was barely a whisper. "Many of them are larger than anything in our fleet. Their combined firepower is... I cannot calculate it. The numbers are too high." 12,000 ships, repeated. "Against your 300. And this is just what we sent to welcome you. This is not even our main fleet." Stared at the screen. For the first time in his long life, he felt something cold growing in his chest. It was fear. "You have been lying to us for 3,000 years, he said slowly. "Not lying, acting. There is a difference," shrugged. "We showed you what you wanted to see, a weak species trapped and helpless. It was a very good performance, if I say so myself." Why go through all this trouble? Because we wanted to give you a choice. Smile faded, replaced by something harder. The same choice you gave us 3,000 years ago. Surrender or die. His mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme stress. The do not surrender. Then you die. His voice was calm, almost gentle. But I hope you will think carefully before making that decision. Look around you, High Commander. Look at the species you enslaved, now standing with their weapons pointed at you. They have waited centuries for this moment. Many of them would love to see you burn. She paused. But we humans, we are offering you mercy, a chance to live, a chance to change. Is your pride really worth more than the lives of every in your fleet? Was silent for a long moment. His 4 eyes moved from screen to screen, taking in the vast armada surrounding him. His 300 ships looked small and pathetic in comparison, like toys compared to mountains. What are your terms? He finally asked. Smiled again, but this time it was a sad smile. Power down your weapons, lower your shields, follow us to Earth. There your leaders will meet with ours to discuss the future. And if we refuse, then you will die here in the cold of space and your empire will die with you. Spread her hands. The choice is yours, High Commander, but choose quickly. My friends are getting impatient. Looked at his crew. He saw fear in their eyes. He saw the truth that he had refused to accept. They were not the masters of the galaxy anymore. Perhaps they never had been. Perhaps they had only been pretending, just like the humans. Slowly, painfully, he gave the order. Power down weapons, lower shields. His voice was heavy with defeat. We surrender. On the screen, Captain nodded respectfully. A wise choice, High Commander. Welcome to the new age. The garden was the most beautiful place had ever seen. Green plants grew everywhere, their leaves catching the golden sunlight. Flowers of every color bloomed along winding paths. Birds sang in the trees, their music filling the air with life. Had never experienced anything like this. They had long ago replaced nature with machines. Efficiency was everything to his people. Beauty was considered a waste of resources. But standing here, surrounded by living things, he began to understand what his ancestors had destroyed. Admiral walked beside him on the stone path. She was shorter than him and much older, but she moved with the confidence of someone who had nothing to fear. Her gray hair was pulled back from her face, and her eyes were kind but sharp. This garden is over 2,000 years old, she said. It was built during the 1st century of the Truce, when humanity was still afraid of the sky. His 4 eyes took in every detail: a small pond, a curved bridge, trees with twisted trunks that had grown for centuries. Why are you showing me this? Because I want you to understand something. Stopped walking and turned to face him. 3,000 years ago, your ancestors came to Earth and threatened to destroy us. They gave us a choice: surrender or die. We surrendered because we had no other option. I know the history. Do you know what happened after? Was silent. The truth was, he did not know. The records said that humanity had accepted their defeat and lived quietly in their prison, nothing more. The first 100 years were the hardest, continued. She sat down on a stone bench and gestured for him to join her. He did, awkwardly folding his long legs. We were angry. We were humiliated. Many humans wanted revenge. They dreamed of the day when we would have enough power to strike back. That is natural. We would have felt the same. Yes, revenge is natural. It is easy. Picked up a small stone from the ground and turned it over in her hands. But around 500 years after the truce, something changed. We began to explore the galaxy in secret. We met other species, many of them enslaved by just as we had been threatened. His mandibles clicked softly. The species in the fleet that surrounded us. Yes, the and dozens of others. They had all suffered under rule. Many of them had lost some had lost 90% of their populations. Looked at him directly. Your empire was built on oceans of blood. He could not deny it. They had always believed that conquest was their right. The strong ruled the weak. That was the natural order. When we found these survivors, we had a choice, continued. We could have used their anger. We could have built an army of hatred, united only by the desire to destroy the. With enough time and weapons, we could have done exactly what you feared. We could have wiped your species from existence. Why didn't you? Was quiet for a moment, watching a small bird hop along the path. Because we realized that hatred is a poison. It destroys the one who holds it more than the one it is aimed at. We had spent 500 years being angry, and it had brought us nothing but pain. She turned the stone over in her hands again. So we made a different choice. Instead of building an army of revenge, we built a community of hope. We helped the enslaved species rebuild their civilizations. We shared technology and knowledge freely. We created a federation based on cooperation and mutual respect. You became their protectors. We became their partners. There is a difference, smiled slightly. The ruled through fear, we led through example. We showed them that a better way was possible. Thought about this for a long time. His whole life, he had been taught that power came from domination. The strong crushed the weak. That was how the universe worked. But here was a species that had become the most powerful force in the galaxy by doing the opposite. You could have destroyed us today, he said finally. Your fleet was overwhelming. We had no chance. No, you did not. But you offered us mercy instead. Why? Toss the stone into the pond. It made a soft splash, and circles spread across the water. Because mercy is stronger than revenge, she said. Revenge ends things. Mercy begins them. If we had destroyed your fleet, we would have become just like you, conquerors, destroyers. We would have proven that your way was the only way. She stood up and walked to the edge of the pond. But by offering you a chance to change, we prove that there is another path. A harder path, yes, a longer path, but a path that leads somewhere worth going. Rose and stood beside her. His reflection looked strange in the water, his gray alien face next to her human one. What will happen to my people now? That depends on you, looked up at him. The Federation Council will meet tomorrow. Representatives from every species you ever conquered will be there. Many of them want justice. Some of them want revenge. They have earned the right to demand both. They will execute us. They have that power now. Paused. But I will speak on your behalf. I will tell them what I am telling you now, that the cycle of violence must end somewhere. That forgiveness is not weakness but strength. That they can become allies instead of enemies if they are willing to change. 4 eyes blinked slowly. Why would you do this for us, after everything we have done, after everything we threatened to do? Because 3,000 years ago a commander could have chosen to destroy Earth. Instead, he offered a truce. It was a cruel truce, yes, but it was still a choice to let us live, smiled. I choose to believe that somewhere deep inside your species there is the capacity for mercy, and I choose to give you the chance to find it. Looked at the garden around him. The flowers, the trees, the birds, the sunlight, all of this beauty, created by a species his people had dismissed as weak and primitive. I do not know if my people can change, he admitted. Neither do I, replied. But that is the wonderful thing about the future. It has not been written yet. We get to write it together if we choose. She offered him her hand. It was a human gesture of friendship, he knew, a symbol of trust. Slowly, carefully, took her hand in his. I will try, he said. I cannot promise success, but I will try. Squeezed his hand gently. That is all anyone can ask. They stood together in the garden as the sun began to set, 2 former enemies taking the first small step toward something new. Above them, the stars were coming out one by one, each one a world full of possibilities. The old age was ending. The new age was about to begin. 1 year had passed since the day the fleet surrendered. 1 year of negotiations, arguments, tears and slowly growing trust. Now, on a warm afternoon history was about to be made. The Great Hall was the oldest building on the planet. It had stood for 10,000 years, witnessing the rise and fall of empires. Its walls were made of black stone carved with the names of every leader who had ever lived. Today, those walls looked down upon something no previous leader could have imagined. 47 species filled the hall. They came in all shapes and sizes. The tall, silver stood next to the small, furry. The fierce warriors sat beside the gentle scholars. Humans walked among them, greeting old friends and new allies with equal warmth. All of them had once been enemies. All of them had suffered under rule. And all of them had come to witness the signing of the new accord. Ambassador stood near the center of the hall, reviewing his notes one last time. He was 60 years old, with a calm face and steady hands. For 30 years, he had worked as a diplomat, building bridges between species that had every reason to hate each other. This day was the greatest achievement of his life. Beside him stood. The former High Commander had changed in the past year. His military uniform was gone, replaced by simple diplomatic robes. His 4 eyes, once cold with arrogance, now held something different, something that looked almost like hope. "Are you ready?" asked. "No," admitted, "but I do not think anyone can ever be ready for something like this." "You are probably right." A chime sounded, and the hall fell silent. Millions of beings across the galaxy were watching through screens and projections. This moment would be remembered for centuries to come. Stepped forward to the central podium. Above him, a holographic display showed the symbol of the new Federation, a circle of stars, each one representing a member species. At the center was a human hand clasped with an alien one. 3,000 years ago, began, his voice clear and strong, humanity received a message from the stars. It was a message of fear, a message of submission. We were told to accept our place as prisoners or face destruction. He looked around the hall at the assembled species. We were not the first to receive such a message. Many of you heard similar words. Some of you lost your homes. Some of you lost your families. Some of you lost everything except the will to survive. Paused, letting the weight of history settle over the audience. We could have become like our oppressors. We could have used our power to seek revenge, to conquer, to dominate. Many said this was the only way. Many believed that the cycle of violence could never be broken. He shook his head slowly. But humanity chose a different path. We chose to build instead of destroy. We chose to unite instead of divide. We chose to become guardians of peace, not warriors of vengeance. Gestured to the crowd around him. And we did not do it alone. Every species in this room played a part. They taught us patience. They taught us courage. They taught us compassion. Each of you brought something precious to our federation. Together, we became something greater than any of us could be alone. Now stepped forward. His presence caused a murmur to run through the crowd. Many still looked at him with hatred in their eyes. Many had lost loved ones because of orders he had given. "I stand before you as a representative of the people," said. His voice was rough, but his words were sincere. "For thousands of years, my species believed that strength meant dominion. We measured our worth by how many we could crush beneath us. We called ourselves an empire, but we were really just bullies with big weapons." He lowered his head. "I cannot change the past. I cannot bring back the dead. I cannot heal the wounds my people have caused." He raised his eyes again. "But I can stand here today and say, we were wrong. Everything we believed about power and strength was wrong." Turned to face. The humans showed us another way, not through force but through example. They had the power to destroy us, but they chose mercy. They could have enslaved us as we enslaved others, but they offered partnership instead. He placed his hand over his chest, a gesture of deep respect. "On behalf of the people, I ask for forgiveness, not because we deserve it, we do not, but because without forgiveness there can be no future, only an endless cycle of pain. The hall was silent. Then slowly an elderly rose from her seat. She was missing one of her arms, lost in a battle against forces centuries ago. She walked toward with careful steps. Everyone held their breath. The woman stopped in front of. For a long moment, she simply looked at him. Then she reached out her remaining hand and placed it on his arm. "My daughter died in a prison," she said quietly. "For 200 years I dreamed of revenge. I dreamed of watching your worlds burn." Stood very still, accepting whatever judgment would come. "But today I choose to let go of that dream." The woman's voice grew stronger. "I choose to honor my daughter's memory not with hatred but with hope. I choose to believe that the future can be different from the past." She looked up with ancient, tired eyes. "I forgive you." The words seemed to unlock something in the hall. Other survivors rose from their seats. One by one they approached. Some spoke words of forgiveness. Others simply touched his arm or nodded their heads. Not everyone participated. Some could not forgive, and that was their right. But enough did. Enough chose hope over hatred. When the ceremony continued, and stood side by side at the signing table, the document before them glowed with the symbols of every member species. "This accord represents a promise," said, "a promise that we will never again allow tyranny to flourish in our galaxy, a promise that every species, no matter how small, will have a voice, a promise that the future belongs to all of us together." He signed the document, then signed. Then, one by one, representatives from all 47 species added their marks. When it was finished, the hall erupted in cheering. Species that had been enemies embraced each other. Tears flowed freely. Even some of the stern observers wiped their eyes. Outside the hall, the celebration spread across the planet and beyond. On 900 billion human worlds, people danced in the streets. On the ships of the Great Fleet, soldiers raised glasses to peace. On 100 different, freed species looked up at the stars and smiled. Far away on Earth, Admiral watched the ceremony on a screen in her garden. Beside her sat Lieutenant, now a captain with gray in his hair. They had both grown older, but their eyes still held the same spark. "We actually did it," said softly. "We ended 3,000 years of fear." "No," replied. "We did not end anything, we started something." She looked up at the sky where the first stars were appearing. "The real work begins now, building trust, healing wounds, creating a future worth living in. Do you think we can do it?" Smiled, the same warm smile she had worn on the day the first declared war. "I think humanity has spent 3,000 years learning patience and planning. I think we have made friends across the galaxy who will stand beside us. And I think that any species stubborn enough to smile at an invasion fleet is stubborn enough to build a lasting peace." She raised her cup of tea in a small toast. "To the future, whatever it may bring." Raised his own cup, "To the future." They drank together as the stars came out one by one, each light a promise, each world a possibility. Each moment a step toward something humanity had dreamed of for 3,000 years. Not just survival, but a galaxy where everyone could live without fear.